afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherry Mata, and I am here before you today as the president of the Jewish Law Students Association. On behalf of everybody who helped organize this event, I would like to thank Ambassador Baker for taking the time out of his busy schedule to speak with us, as well as the Israeli embassy for their part. I would like to thank President Davenport, who you will hear from shortly. As you know, he is the esteemed president of the University of Western Ontario, and we appreciate very much his support with us today. Behind the scenes, there's a lot that goes on in terms of securing the logistics for the ambassador's travel. I would like to thank everyone who helped facilitate that process, including especially the RCMP. On a personal note, in light of the tragic loss of Constable Douglas Scott in Calloway only a few days ago, I think that I speak on behalf of all of us here in saying that the loss of an RCMP officer is a loss for all of Canada. I would like to express our appreciation for the risks that these officers take every day in helping to keep us safe. Our hearts and deepest condolences go out to the Scott family and all the RCMP officers. I would also like to thank Professor Isabel. Without her, this event could not have happened. We appreciate very much Western Law for providing us with the venue as well as the administrative staff here at Western, as well as London Jewish Campus Services and the International Law Association for their sponsorship. And finally, I must thank Mary Sepla and the director and Bailey Koplowitz, the president of Israel on campus, for their integral role in helping to organize this event. With that, it is my honor to introduce to you President Davenport.
Thank you, and it is a great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Alan Baker to the University of Western Ontario and to this very fine group of students and faculty who come out to hear the Ambassador. Thank you all for attending this event. Ambassador, just let me say a few words about my university. Western has a long and proud history of involvement with the campus Jewish community and with the Jewish community in London. Our faculty, staff, and students have helped to make our university and our city a vibrant environment through their engagement with the Chabad House, just outside the University Gates, and with involvement in the Hebrew Day School and the Gangani Nursery School. I have visited Chabad House in Hillel and have seen this level of commitment and involvement firsthand. The university takes tremendous pride in the diversity of our academic community, and particularly the way that all of those who work and study here, from different backgrounds, cultures, traditions, and faith, interact to broaden and enrich the campus experience for all their peers and colleagues. We have a proud tradition, diversity of points of view, and tolerance in listening to those points of view. And I know that tolerance will be visible today. I know there'll be questions for the ambassador after his talk. There'll be time for those questions. And I would ask you please to hold your questions until he has concluded his talk. I should say also that Western is at the forefront of scholarly engagement in Jewish history. And our outstanding faculty here include the distinguished historian, Professor Sir Martin Gilbert. We're also engaged in the long-established Holocaust Library, housed in our Faculty of Arts and Humanities, and overseen by Professor Alan Goldschlager. So today it is my great pleasure to introduce Ambassador Alan Baker, Israel's ambassador to Canada. Before taking up his current post, Mr. Baker was legal advisor and Deputy Director General of Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He has been actively involved in Middle East peace negotiations with all of Israel's neighbors, including Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, and the Palestinians. He has served as Israel's representative to the Legal Committee of the United Nations General Assembly and was instrumental in the establishment of the International Criminal Court. Mr. Baker studied law at University College London and holds a master's degree in international law from Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He is truly a distinguished scholar and practitioner of international law. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ambassador Alan Baker.
here and to have been invited to talk to you, especially here in the law faculty, on a very interesting legal dilemma that I've been dealing with for many years. But first of all, it's good to be back out of the diplomatic world and into the company of lawyers and normal people. So it's good to be back. We're going to talk about the legal challenges to fighting terror, and in the discussions that took place prior to my coming here, the question was whether I'll talk about terror or whether it won't be some wider amorphous term of, I forget what the term was.
Asymmetrical warfare.
Asymmetrical warfare. And my answer was that I really don't understand what asymmetrical warfare is, and the problem that we have and the problem that today's international community has is how to cope with the problem of international terror, which isn't just Israel's problem. It's a problem that we read about every day in the newspapers. It's Canada's problem. It's something that's happening now in the international community that we should all be worried about. And I've tried to study it and to deal with it in various capacities as the legal counsel of a foreign ministry of a sovereign state, but also a member of various committees in the United Nations negotiating various issues concerning modern-day terror. And there are a number of international conventions and resolutions that have dealt throughout the years with terror. Terror isn't something new. In fact, the outbreak of the First World War, the murder of the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, was brought about by an act of terror. And in the early 30s, the international community tried to adopt a convention to deal with terror. Terror isn't something new. What is new are the techniques that are used by international terror, by terrorists, in trying to push forward the various causes that they espouse, and through which they think that by terrorizing a state, or by terrorizing a local population, or by terrorizing individual groups, this is the way to achieve their aims. And this has become now, as I said, a problem. And it's very difficult, as a state, in international law, to keep up with this problem. And what we find inevitably is that international law lags behind the need to cope with the various aspects of terrorism. And in fact, the last solid international law that we have in dealing with problems of armed groups who are fighting against a government or governmental forces is perhaps the first and second protocols to the Geneva Convention, the 1974. And one can understand why, because the Geneva Conventions, the fourth of which refers to warfare and occupation of territory, they were finalized in 1949 and adopted in 1949. And since 1949, the nature of armed conflict has changed. The weapons have changed. There are new developments in weaponry. There are new developments in individual weaponry. And we saw this in the Vietnam War, as a result of which the international community got together again in Geneva between 1974 and 1977 and drafted a series of 2 protocols to the Geneva Convention, which were intended to ramp up or revamp the international humanitarian law in order to deal with the types of warfare that occurred or have occurred since the Second World War. And the example, the recent example, of course, being the Vietnam War.